Hello, hello. Welcome. Thank you everyone for being here today. My name is Ethan Kaufman, Programming and Partnerships here at Landmark Ventures, and I'm pleased to welcome you all to today's webinar, Securing Your Mission, Advancing Identity Maturity in the Nonprofit Sector. Hosted in partnership with our friends at Okta, the leading independent partner for identity management, today's presentation will explore Okta's nonprofit identity maturity model, highlighting practical actions you can take to reduce risk, improve operational efficiency, and build trust with people who rely on you most. After the presentation, there will be an opportunity for Q&A where you can ask all your questions, whether broad in nature or specific to your use case, so please feel free to drop those in the Q&A function as we go. Now, without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce Joaquin Campos, Nonprofit Success Program Manager, and Jacob Jones, Solutions Engineer at Okta, who will lead today's presentation. Over to you both.
Thank you, Ethan. Just 1 second here. Let me get my screen shared real quick, and we'll get started. Cool. All right. Yeah, well, thank you, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today, where we will be discussing identity maturity in the nonprofit sector. On our agenda for today, we'll start with some quick intros and then give you a little overview of what Okta for Good is, what we do. Then we'll dive into the state of nonprofit identity, as well as the nonprofit identity maturity model, and then close out with some next steps and time for discussion. All right, so for some quick intros, again, my name is Joaquin. I'm a program manager on the Okta for Good team. In my role, I work closely with our nonprofit customers to understand their challenges and their use cases, and to ensure that they have access to the resources that will help them succeed with Okta. Prior to joining the Okta team, I spent about 8 years in the nonprofit sector, specifically in direct service roles. Yeah, so that's a bit about myself. Jacob, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, Jacob Jones here, Solutions Engineer at Okta. So think of me as the technical engineering arm of our sales team. So I work every day, day in and day out, with customers and nonprofits like yourself, discussing about Okta technology and how it best fits to current internal needs.
Right. Thanks, Jacob. Okay, so for those of you not familiar with Okta, we're a security and identity company that enables organizations to securely connect the right people to the right technologies at the right time. Our vision is to free everyone to safely use any technology, and we believe that every organization should have the ability to protect the digital identities of the people in their networks. Okta for Good is Okta's social impact arm, and an extension of Okta's vision. When Okta says we want to enable everyone to safely use any technology, Okta for Good's role is to ensure that that means everyone. And this includes the nonprofit organizations that are doing society's most critical work and serving their communities. So I focus on Okta for Nonprofits initiatives, which helps nonprofits leverage Okta's identity solutions and expertise to protect and enable their organizations and those that they serve. All right, so let's start by painting a picture of the current state of nonprofit cybersecurity. Our Nonprofits at Work report published earlier this year found that nonprofits are the second most attacked sector by cybercriminals. NetHope confirms this with their finding that 65% of NGOs experienced a security breach in the past year. And a big reason for this may be because threat actors see nonprofits as an easy target. Another concerning factor is that most NGOs don't have incident response capabilities in the event of a cyber attack, or budget allocated towards cybersecurity at all. So yeah, curious if you all have heard these stats before. Do they seem accurate given the experience of your organization? Feel free to post any thoughts in the chat. But yeah, ultimately, this is why Okta exists. And these stats give context for what I'll be sharing today and why it's important for organizations to assess the current state of their security posture and identify opportunities to modernize it. Okay, so before we dive into any strategy, let's ground ourselves in why identity matters. As we saw from the stats, the stakes are high. Identity isn't just about protecting systems and data, it's also about protecting trust. But identity goes beyond defense. It also enables seamless logins for users like donors, boosting engagement and fundraising potential. And it also contributes to efficiency for your workforce through automation, freeing users up to focus on delivering impact. And that's why identity is so powerful. It's really the bridge between security and mission impact. So what does this look like in practice? Identity solutions give people secure access. This includes your workforce. who access various applications so that they can do their work and deliver services. And also your external users, if you happen to have those. So we're talking volunteers, donors, community members who need access to services and platforms as well. The visual on the slide shows how the Okta Identity Cloud connects users to applications across devices, directories, and environments. So with a growing number of identities to manage, more remote work, and greater cloud adoption, identity has become more complex and more critical. And it plays a key role in strengthening cybersecurity and streamlining operations. Still, we know it can be hard to determine where to focus and which identity solutions will move the needle based on your current security posture. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. So now I'd like to introduce the nonprofit identity maturity model. The purpose of this model is to give you a guide to take back to your organization and assess where you are, as well as what practical next steps can drive the most impact. So after we share this model, you should have a decent idea of where your organization stands in its identity maturity. And we'll also do a self-assessment towards the end of the presentation to help a little bit with this. Okay, so we created the identity maturity model to support your journey, not just towards stronger security, but also better user experiences. Solid identity management makes your organization more agile and flexible, especially when it comes to time-sensitive events like responding to malicious attacks. And as organizations increase identity adoption, we see them also increase operational efficiencies, cost savings, and protection against threats. So what we're sharing today is based on patterns we've observed across thousands of Okta customers, along with insights from research with IT and security leaders. So as we walk through each stage, take a moment to consider where your organization fits today, and note down any questions you might have around where you fit within this model. So to go over the 4 stages we've identified, stage 1 is consolidate and simplify. So that's where the focus is on reduction of manual processes and defending against identity-based attacks. Stage 2 is layering security controls, where the focus is on productivity and reduced admin burden. Stage 3, automate and elevate experience. The focus is on further automation of processes and unifying identity systems. And finally, stage 4, optimize and extend, has a focus on fully eliminating password-related risks. So you'll see that we've laid these out linearly, but in practice, identity maturity can be more circular, especially as technology continues to evolve rapidly. So you may fall into one stage for some things or another stage for others. All right, next we'll explore each stage in more detail and some of the actionable steps your organizations can take to create optimal security outcomes, even if resources are limited. All right, so stage 1, the earliest stage of identity. This is where we see many organizations begin. Managing access manually, little visibility or policy enforcement is what this typically looks like. At this stage, simple steps like consolidating directories and enabling multi-factor authentication make a huge difference in risk reduction. Other actions we recommend taking at this stage are to implement basic password policies with minimum length, complexity, as well as self-service resets. And if you do have any identity-related processes while at this stage, start documenting those to help determine areas for improvement. So a quick question for you all to consider. How many of you already conduct security awareness training for staff and volunteers? Please feel free to post any thoughts in the chat. But really, if you're not doing this already, it's important to have a regular security awareness training for staff and volunteers. This really helps get your organization in the security mindset and prepare them for new solutions. All right, so when Okta for Good works with organizations that are just starting out with identity management, the first identity products that we recommend implementing are basic single sign-on and multi-factor authentication, security encryption, API access policies, and universal directory to consolidate user data from Active Directory, core productivity apps like Google Workspace or O365, and HR systems. So some of you may have goals of fully migrating to the cloud, and for others, on-prem Active Directory is going to remain a necessity. So a hybrid setup may make more sense for those. But Universal Directory overall would allow you to manage data and grant access from a single control panel across multiple sources. So really it works either way. All right, so diving into stage two, identity challenges start getting mitigated in stage two. So you're expanding SSO and MFA and maybe starting to think about external user security in addition to that of internal users like employees and volunteers. So this is where automation can start reducing your team's workload as well, and user experiences can become much more streamlined. This is a great time to introduce lifecycle management, so automating onboarding and offboarding, as well as consistent login experiences. So another point to add, stronger MFA like biometrics really helps as well here. We also recommend developing an identity strategy if you don't have one already. You may not be ready to focus on external user security at this stage, but you can start documenting the risks and issues around ease of use, like sign up, registration, password reset, etc. Also, you can work towards zero trust by implementing dynamic access policies. So, for example, a program coordinator may be granted read-only access to a specific record, whereas the permissions of a program director may allow them to edit and share the record as well. So, yeah, just different access policies there. And at this second stage, solutions to prioritize include automation of user account management. So Okta offers lifecycle management, which I mentioned earlier, as a solution for automating user account provisioning. Another solution to prioritize would be role-based access control with dynamic access policies. And lastly, SSO capabilities for your entire workforce and external users. And again, external meaning employees, um, sorry, partners, members, etc. A little security humor here. Maybe this one resonates with you all, but I'll let you all check that one out while I also share a quick anonymous poll. So a question for the poll. How many of you have thought about securing the identities of your volunteers, donors, members, or the communities that you serve? Give you all a second to answer that. Okay. All right. Let's jump into stage three. Stage three is a turning point, really. During this stage, identity becomes proactive, not just reactive. So with adaptive MFA and risk-based policies, you're preventing threats before they escalate. So at this state, what we recommend is implement adaptive MFA-based attributes like user group, location, device, and network. This allows access requests with unusual behaviors to be flagged to block potential attacks. We also recommend that you start establishing identity governance and compliance processes to gain visibility into identities and privileges. Also enforce least privilege access to APIs, critical infrastructure, and applications. And lastly, if you don't already have secure, smooth experiences for your external users, this is the stage where you can give them more attention. All right, and at this third stage, we see organizations starting to implement these following solutions. So adaptive multi-factor authentication, which leverages contextual data during the authentication process. Also threat and health insights, risk detection and attack prevention, identity governance and administration, and automated user account linking and merging to enable a single access experience for stakeholders with one login. All right, so another quick poll. We got to this one pretty quickly. So the question, how does your organization currently manage user access when someone joins, changes roles, or leaves the organization? So we have A, mostly manual, B, some automation, C, it's largely automated, or D, fully automated. I'll give you a minute for this one as well. Right. Right, let's dive into stage 4. I see. Okay, so mostly manual and some automation. A couple that are largely automated. Uh, Looks like not too many on the fully automated side. But okay, it's great to know. Thanks for answering. So let's dive into stage 4, which is where identity is no longer an IT tool, it's strategic infrastructure. So at this stage, you're using AI to spot risks and personalize journeys. You've minimized standing privileges, unified access across platforms, and created real-time detection loops. Also, current challenges at this stage include addressing legacy permissions and real-time response needs. So organizations at this stage are really looking to implement remaining optimizations. So next steps in identity management here could be to implement password authentication options, utilize AI slash machine learning for anomaly detection and risk assessment. Also create personalized experience based on user attributes and behavior, and also leverage data and feedback to continuously optimize identity processes. As far as appropriate solutions for the strategic stage, these would include passwordless authentication across your entire workforce and external users, AI threat detection to monitor users and their sessions for identity-based threats, privileged access management to mitigate the risk of unauthorized access, and lastly, fine-grained authorization for being hyper-specific about user access to specific objects or resources within applications. All right, so those are the 4 stages. Now we can chat a little bit about some next steps. And as part of that, I'd like to take 2 minutes or so to do a quick self-assessment. So I encourage you all to please take private notes on the answers to the 3 questions that you see up on this slide. And I'll read these as well. So these include: what identity solutions do you currently have? What is your number 1 priority? And what's blocking progress? Yeah, so I'll give you all 2 minutes or so to think about your answers and maybe jot down some notes. Hopefully that was enough time. And I do encourage you to take this assessment back to your team and continue just reflecting on these questions. But yeah, let's do another quick poll. All right, so the question: which stage of identity maturity best fits where your organization currently is? Yeah, totally fine. If you're not sure as well, that's an option up here too. Okay, nice. Nice. Looks like we have quite a few stage 2, stage 3, definitely some in stage 1. And of course, some that are not sure. So awesome, awesome. Thank you. This is great to see. Okay, so now let's chat through some next steps. We understand that getting budget and approval for solutions takes time. So we want to provide some steps you can take now to move forward on your identity maturity journey without worrying about, getting buy-in from leadership or board at this moment. So start with what you can, really. So like documenting apps, identifying quick wins that align with your organization's goals. You might already have a roadmap, but is identity management a key part of it? So just a few things to consider there. For leadership or board approval, it can also help to show how a new solution saves costs, increases revenue, and or mitigates risk. So yeah, a few next steps to consider there. All right, and now I'd like to share a quick story about how one nonprofit started small with Okta and grew over time. So many of you may be familiar with the Trevor Project, a nonprofit that provides life-saving support to LGBTQ plus youth by connecting them with volunteer crisis counselors. So while the Trevor Project is a larger nonprofit, their identity journey with Okta started small, focused only on a few foundational stage one solutions. When their IT director first joined, he found there was no single source of truth for staff and volunteer identities. Everyone, program staff, volunteers, even donors, used separate unmanaged logins across various applications. In fact, many computers weren't even connected to a single AD domain. So this presented it presented major operational and security challenges, especially for an organization handling deeply sensitive data tied to a vulnerable population. So their director of IT was functioning as a one-person IT team. And one of his first challenges was to secure an identity solution for the entire organization. And that's when he partnered with Okta. He started by working with our professional services team to implement identity for the workforce, including solutions like single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, universal directory, and lifecycle management. And after a successful staff rollout, they were ready to move towards transforming the volunteer experience, bringing even more mission-aligned users into a secure, unified identity system. The Trevor Project was focused on creating a new crisis infrastructure to support all of the channels, including phone, chat, and text, that allow volunteers to communicate with LGBTQ plus young people in crisis. Okta provided the identity foundation for that platform, enabling over 700 staff and volunteers to access the tools they need to continue serving over 100,000 young people each year. Yes, that's a bit about the Trevor Project. And I would like to now open it up for discussion and get your thoughts on the model, really. Yeah, please submit your questions in the chat and we'll be happy to share any insights here. Yeah, and one question that might help too, if you do have any technical questions, now would be a great time to ask them as well. So please feel free to post in the chat. And yeah, we'll provide some information there.
Joaquin, we can look at our first question here, right? What trends are you seeing around digital identity in the nonprofit sector that organizations should be preparing for now?
What trends are we seeing in the nonprofit sector that orgs should be preparing for now? Um, you know, I feel like what we hear a lot about is automation. I think that tends to be a topic that I encounter a lot in my conversations with these organizations. So a lot of it's like around provisioning, deprovisioning, like how do we make sure that we're granting access to new users appropriately? How do we make sure that anybody who leaves is losing access right away and in a timely manner so that we, don't have any exposed vulnerabilities there? So that's definitely one. I see a lot more organizations leveraging our programs and our resources to get that up and running. And of course, I mean, like looking at the maturity model, like not everyone's going to be there right away. That's something that maybe you start considering at a, stage 2, stage 3 of the model. So oftentimes it's simple MFA. Oftentimes for a lot of organizations, it's just really getting MFA up and running, single sign-on and multi-factor authentication up and running across your organizations just to get identity in the right place as a starting point. But yeah, that's typically what I tend to see a lot of. Yeah, Jacob, any extra information you want to add there?
I'm trying to think through it. It's a really good question. From when we take a spot and look at, where people are running into, let's say, like the identity stages here. We can even see in the poll, it sits around that 1 to 3 range. There's still a lot of organizations that are finally getting the chance to step into security, right? Because it hasn't been something that they've had the privilege of being able to focus on. So it's the focus of getting into this and getting to those automation stages. When we come from a threat landscape, unfortunately, the name of the game right now is social engineering, right? It is sending an email with a PDF attached that's going to grab the user's cookie. So it's starting to look at what we can do here from an endpoint protection and what we can do from a visibility point of view to protect users and help educate users on how to look out for some of these attack vectors. That's what I see, at least from a lot of the conversations that I have.
Awesome. Thanks, Jacob.
I'm looking at another question here. Are there any unexpected threats that arise as you progress through the model? I wouldn't say unexpected threats or new threats as you progress. The way that I look at this is more so growing to handle more complex threats. So at the beginning of this, right, just getting an MFA, getting a two-factor is the beginning of protecting from basic account takeovers. So just, password spreads, brute force, right? And as you grow, then we can start looking at taking care of other potential threats. So less of new threats arising as much as growing to be able to take on more and more complex threats. Like I've just mentioned, being able to capture tokens. With stage 4, getting into stuff like AI, machine learning, bringing in ideas like continuous authentication and being able to react to unusual user behavior and being able to react to that in real time in case a threat comes up. So less of coming across new unexpected threats as much as growing to threats that we know that are more complex that you can't always take care of at stage 1. Does Okta have any AI programs that you offer for organizations at stage 4, or are there any other programs that you recommend? That's a good question. Joaquin, at least feel free to back me up on this. As much as I look at this from a technical point of view, this identity maturity model is not static, and is definitely going to change. So as far as stage 4 goes, that's where we're going to start looking at implementing things like AI. Now, AI is a pretty big topic. Not sure if you had any specific thoughts on this question.
No, I mean, I think that's just it. I think anything connected to AI would be a big focus there. I think at that point we're just really looking at any kind of like really anything on the more advanced. Like I'm trying to think through like that's what we talk about like leveraging insights more at this stage. That seems to be something that becomes leveraged a lot more in stage 4. So yeah, I think that's the main piece I'd add. I think insights and like monitoring kind of like behavior becomes just a big focus there.
Yeah, so leading into some machine learning models that are reading behaviors, user behaviors, and creating things like risk scores, and being able to react to risk scores that they deviate off of a normal risk, right? Let's say, take for instance, Ethan grabs his laptop, and goes on a little bit of work from home journey and goes visits some friends in Washington. Maybe that'll elevate Ethan's risk a little bit since he hasn't been to Washington before. You guys get a notification and be able to make a decision on that. But if Ethan is suddenly logging in from a completely different country that he's never been before, that's a greater risk. So, Joaquin, one of our biggest hindrances in progressing on the nonprofit and identity maturity model is a buy-in from everyone and improving collaboration. What are some suggestions on how to foster that?
Yeah, I think That's a great question, really. I think it's going to be key to get buy-in from, leadership decision makers as well as those that are like running the actual technical work, like those that would be actually, in other words, responsible for implementing an identity model. I know that sometimes there is a bit of a disconnect there. So I think really just making the case around why identity is a necessity at this state and ultimately like pitching it to all the different stakeholders, not strictly the decision makers, but really anybody that would have some insights to share there. I think that's something that we hear quite a bit from some of our nonprofits that are exploring identity is that sometimes like, you have those that are like gonna unlock, the resources that you can actually, begin to roll something out, as well as those that kind of have more of the understanding around the necessity or just the need behind it. So yeah, I'd say really just getting all the stakeholders involved in the discussion, and all of their input is really going to be key. Um, but yeah, that's and we also have which we can share after the discussion as well and some of the follow-up material, an ROI white paper really. So it's the white paper is called Online. I think it was actually just shared as well, but Unlocking Board Understanding is the title of the white paper, but it'll really help you understand where you are currently and some practical next steps that you can take.
Yeah, I believe both that and another white paper was dropped under one of the questions in the answered section. You can see links from Ethan in there. We'll work with the team to also send these out afterwards, but if you want to beat us there and click on the links now, they're within the Q&A section under Unlocking Nonprofit Board Understanding and the Identity Maturity Model. I got another question. Is it possible to secure a portion of our staff rather than our entire employee base? Most of our employees drive forklifts, trucks, etc., away from a computer. I work for a food bank. So immediately the answer is yes. I work in both spaces. I work in the for-profit world and nonprofit, and both organizations do this model. So now, in a lot of cases, if we can, we want to get as much people on board to secure login as possible for those who need it. So if you just need a subset that is your at-home desk in front of a computer crowd, then we only need to, we can only talk about, we are more than comfortable only talking about that subsection. So that is not a problem for us and other identity vendors, that if we just need to protect a subset, that is totally okay. It'd be a conversation of, what we care about and what we would want to know, for future conversations is what are we connecting to? What do your applications look like? What do your process look like? And Joaquin has asked some of those questions already. What is that offboarding and onboarding looks like? Is it automated? Those are the kind of conversations we'd have to kind of set, who all do we want to protect? So good question. Joaquin, how can we get in touch with you to learn more?
Yeah, definitely. So we have in the next couple of slides, we have like just some kind of a bit more information to share with you about our offering and how to get in touch. So yeah, you'll see our email there. Okta for nonprofits at okta.com is the best email to reach my team specifically. So if you're looking to learn more about our nonprofit offering, different ways that we support nonprofits, even after they become customers, like do we offer any kinds of like services, designed specifically for nonprofits. So I'll share more on that in just a couple of minutes. But yes, just to give you the short answer for now, if you want to get in touch, feel free to send an email to Okta for nonprofits at okta.com. And I'll display that in just a second. Yeah, there will be a QR code as well to find information easily. So yeah, I'll share that in just after we're past the discussion piece.
Is there a cost justification template that has been used successfully to make the case for allocating internal funds for the identity maturity best practices?
I don't believe we have anything readily available on that. But I can definitely look into that too. The white paper would be the best resource. I'd say take a look at that and see if it covers that specific area. And if not, like be sure to get in touch with us and we can definitely connect you to some additional information that may be useful for that.
Yeah, it's not specifically a template, but I do know that that ROI white paper does cover things like productivity, efficiency, and cost savings. So there are pieces of that conversation that will be covered in the white paper. Maybe not like a plug-in template for you to be hyper specific to your own org, but it does discuss things, how we approach savings and productivity and how we can help qualify that. All right. Joaquin, we're all up for and caught up for questions now. I will continue to watch it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jacob. All right, and thanks everyone. Yeah, let me share out some how to get in touch information now. Okay, so let me see. If you're interested in exploring how Okta can improve your identity maturity, here's some information on our actual nonprofit offering. So the offering provides license donations as well as discounts to eligible nonprofits. Eligible nonprofits are actually going to qualify for 50 free workforce identity licenses. So that's to secure your internal users, and 50% off on all additional workforce licenses purchased beyond those initial free 50. For customer identity, 50% off on those plans also. And we also have some learning resources. So we offer 50% off the expert learning
Hey,
pass for
Joaquin,
nonprofits.
real quick, can you close your Q&A pop-up?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Cool. Sorry, I didn't know you guys would see that. My bad. Sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, so that's 50% off on the expert learning pass and access to over so all nonprofit customers also get access to over 200 complimentary courses through Okta Learning. So just that's a ton of free material that you can access to support your implementations. And nonprofits also get 5 complimentary passes to Octane. So that's Okta's annual identity user conference taking place this year in Las Vegas this September. So yeah, all nonprofits get 5 free passes to Octane. But yeah, so feel free to scan the barcode on the screen. And like I said, the email is on there too, right below the QR code. But yeah, Okta for Nonprofits at okta.com would be the best place to reach us with any questions you might have. And lastly, in addition to free and discounted products, we recently launched technical services for nonprofits. So that's our portfolio of programs and resources designed to help nonprofits successfully deploy Okta. These are all no-cost implementation programs and resources specifically meant to support nonprofit implementations. Please scan the QR code here as well to be routed to our technical services for nonprofits application page, or email us as well for more information. But yeah, overall, that's about it. We do hope that we're able to connect again. Thank you everybody for joining, and please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or to learn more about our offering. Thank you.
All right. What a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much to the entire Okta team. Thank you to Joaquin. Thank you to Jacob for your collaboration in producing today's webinar. And thank you everyone for joining us live today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bye.